Hello, welcome back to Media Countdown. My name's Chris.
I'm Robert.
And welcome back to part 2 of ranking the top rock albums of the 90s. Our criteria is simple. The album must have been released in the 90s, it had to have some commercial success, and it also has to be considered a rock act.
Also, our opinion.
Okay, let's get to it.
Number 40, Creed, Human Clay. What you think about this one, Chris?
Creed was a good band. Wasn't the greatest. I mean, they were pretty good. Like everyone loved that Higher song. I don't know. You were more of a fan of this or not?
The first album I thought was pretty good. I went back and listened to it. It still actually holds up a little bit. I don't know. It was very successful. It won a Grammy for Arms Wide Open. It was a lot of people hated Creed, and a lot of people, it didn't age well. This album did.
Mm-hmm.
The album artwork's not very good.
I mean, just look at that.
Yeah, that looks.
That's just
CG,
that's just
video
horrible.
game.
That's a horrible. I mean,
the actually same guy who made the artwork for the first album made for the second album. He didn't do as good a job.
No.
But overall, I mean, Creed was one of those bands that was kind of safe, I would say, for a lot of people. A lot of people believed it. I'm not putting that. There's nothing against in any way, Christian music, but people labeled it as Christian music, which they did take a lot out with their music. But they claimed it wasn't, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, they were definitely the sprite of kind of rock music,
I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to 39 as REM Automatic for the People.
It's a pretty good album. It was really critically loved.
Mm-hmm.
It had Everybody Hurts, that music video, and Man on the Moon. Everybody Hurts I thought it was a very good music video. It had what everybody was thinking when they're stuck in a traffic jam.
Mm-hmm.
Man on the Moon, of course, was about Annie Kaufman. And, of course, they made the movie after that called Man on the Moon. But the song's a great song.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a pretty good album. REM's kind of one of those bands that's kind of known to be more associated with the 80s along with the 90s. I think they were one of the starters for, I guess you would say, alternative rock.
Yeah, they were definitely
kind of labeled as college rock to begin with, when they first came out in the 80s.
But they were definitely that first kind of band that was kind of the impetus of all that,
So,
yeah. 38 is No Doubt Tragic Kingdom.
You like this album?
Yes, I actually like this album. This at the time, I know this wasn't their first album, but this was the one that kind of put them on the map.
Definitely.
I say this was an album that you could just turn it on, let it play, start at the beginning. You might not agree with that, but for me, it definitely was. No Doubt with Gwen Stefani. I know some of their later albums weren't that great, and I know her solo career was just no, but they were definitely, and they were kind of that in between the punk and ska.
So you didn't you didn't like Hollaback Girl? So
no,
it wasn't for you.
It was definitely bananas.
Yeah. It was all right. I mean, they were a big band. They had a cameo in Clueless and in Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion, and I mean, it was a big, the I'm Just a Girl song was big, Don't Speak was very big, and,
Spiderwebs was a good one,
that was a good song. They're all right. Also, they were a ska band. A lot of people forget that they were kind of a ska band. So that kind of was in that got that type of trend going, back in the 90s. But, they're okay. I mean, Gwen Stefani went on to have, great success, in her career. After this is what got her started. Number 37, we have Radiohead, OK Computer. You like Radiohead?
Yeah, I actually really like Radiohead. However, some people love Radiohead. I mean, absolutely love Radiohead. They were really good. I liked this was Karma Police.
That's right. That was a good video too.
I think I don't know, was there any other
Yeah, they had that weird music video, Paranoid Android, that was animated, and we went to EU Parliament. Weird. His arm cut off or something. I don't know. It was weird.
You're weird, yeah.
But I like that kind of part about it. I think that's one thing about the '90s was I think kind of defined the decade a little bit to me was that stuff that was weird was very popular.
Yeah, like
Which for
anything.
some reason I liked. So
Yeah, there was definitely that kind of trend of like, let's just do something different. Let's not, they were like experimenting and stuff like that.
I
But
like the
yeah,
Palmer Police video with the guys chasing the guy in the field
behind the car, yeah.
which is unique. But yeah, it was a good album. I like this one a lot better than the other two. I think the Benz was still a pretty good album. The one after this, a lot of people like. I didn't like that one, but this one is very good actually. I had this one. This was really good.
And they were like kind of a mainstay up, for way after this. Even after this, even after the '90s, they were still pretty big in the.
Well, they have their fans, so they have their. Once you have their core fans, they're pretty much going to always.
Oh yeah.
Buy their material. All right, number 36 is Garbage. Garbage.
Like this was, I know, with Shirley Manson, really good singer. I would say if you wanted to pick like kind of the sound of a decade, this was that. This was definitely that kind of the kind of quintessential '90s alternative sound. That's what it was.
It was. It was very good. I like it had Only Happy When It Rains and Stupid Girl, big songs off that album. I liked it a lot. There's much to say about it. I mean, you were a bigger fan of them than I was.
Yeah, I was more into that than you were.
But I really like the Only Happy When It Rains song on the video and all that. They played it a lot on MTV, so
yeah.
Number 35 is Matchbox 20, Yourself and Someone Like You. This was a mega big album. This one sold a lot. It had 12 times platinum in the US. It had the songs Push and 3 a.m. I have an interest, Matchbox 20, I don't know. They're again one of those more contemporary kind of acts.
They're more mainstream.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, definitely mainstream.
Big time on, more pop radio, not necessarily rock radio. They played them a lot on MTV, also VH1. They were just
just a standard kind of.
I have a little story about them. They're just a not passionate. When you think of bands like Radiohead and other bands we've talked about that have a passionate fan base, whether how much commercial success they're not really known to have a passionate fan base.
Right.
But I knew a guy who had a Matchbox 20 tattoo. That's so weird. I'm sorry. It's so weird.
Like he actually got tattooed.
I get it. You like the album. You like the songs. You bought the CD. You went to see him in concert. Had a good time. You bought the T-shirt, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tattoo. Even the band, I think, would be like, really?
Yeah. Even I would probably say the band would be like, really.
And he was not the guy that you would think that would have a Matchbox 20 tattoo, but he did. No, I never asked him about him.
Did he have any other tattoos?
I don't remember. I just remember seeing on his chest. He had
on his chest.
It was like a square. It said Matchbox 20. I was like,
so it wasn't like the arm. It was like full on.
It was like a square on his chest. He just was walking around the house. I just a friend of a friend. You know what I mean? And it's hey, look. More power to him, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Next is Santana Supernatural. Now, this one was a big one in the '90s. It had several different singers. Santana mostly just was a guitar player. It had Rob Thomas, Eric Clapton, Lauryn Hill, and Dave Matthews for singers. It had the big hit "Smooth."
That was the one with Rob Thomas.
That's right.
From Matchbox 20.
It won 9 Grammys that year.
Yeah, I think I think a little bit of that was like it was Santana, and he had finally because Santana was very active in like the
he was in the
70s.
original Woodstock too.
Yeah, he was always kind of always there, and then this was kind of his like a little bit of his comeback a bit, and I think a lot of that was kind of like, well, we're never going to be able to give him another Grammy, so let's go ahead and give him to him now. But not to knock on him because he is a great guitarist. And I know pretty much you did not, I could bear anybody that was around the 90s and that didn't hear at least one of those songs off that album.
Well, Smooth was everywhere.
It was everywhere. Yeah. They still play it today. Yeah.
Not the biggest fan, but I mean, you know, I can give respect for it. The album went 15 times platinum. I mean, it was serious.
Yes,
Yeah, it was very.
Yeah.
All right, number 33. We'll go with Blues Traveler 4. Chris, what you think about Blues Traveler?
I like Blues Traveler. There's definitely something different. Definitely, like I know they got a more of a kind of a bluesy jazz type of feel to it, and like brought back the harmonica, you know, as far in the mainstream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just a pretty really good band. I know it was the Hook and Runaround.
That's right. They won a Grammy for Runaround. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I really like Blues Traveler a lot. I think they had really good songs. They get kind of labeled a little bit, I don't know if you know, as the Bonnaroo type act, a little bit of college act, which that's fine. I mean, that's who they are. I think they're great. I think of course, the Runaround video they have like where they're playing backstage to another group because they didn't really look the part of a band.
Yeah, they didn't really look the part of like what you think of as a rock band. They were just some four dudes.
Yeah.
I also think, you know, like it still holds up. I actually like it still hold up. I know we were doing this like list. I went back and listened to some of the stuff.
Well, I think some of the more like I would say going through these lists, a lot of the more softer rock kind of contemporary acts. I mean, I'm sorry, just the '90s had some great stuff. It really like the songs that they wrote really hold up. I mean, it's really good stuff. Speaking of which, number 32 is Counting Crows, August, and Everything After. The big hit song, Mr. Jones. Debate, Chris. Is the song what you think it is?
I have a theory. I've always had this theory about that song.
You ruined the song.
And I could be wrong, and I could be ruining it for you guys when you listen to it. But the song Mr. Jones, I have a theory that Mr. Jones is not a good dude, and he's talking about his penis. Go back, listen to the lyrics, and think what you think. But whatever. Let's actually talk about the album itself.
Pretty good. Did well, very well. Mr. Jones was a big hit. Also had Around Here.
Yeah,
they had a good album after that as well. Counting Crows is very much a '90s band.
Oh yeah, they were. Some of this stuff would still hold up, but I don't
know. I think they were pretty good songs for their time. I mean, there still are very good songs. I like a lot of this stuff. It still holds up. It's not bad. A lot of the stuff, like more of the softer rock, contemporary stuff, to me was kind of background music. They played a lot, but a lot of your days as a teenager, you sat around and listened to MTV. It's something they played a lot. You didn't think it was bad or good. As you get older, you kind of go back and listen to it. You're like, damn, this shit was good. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's my opinion on it. All right, 31 is Red Hot Chili Peppers' Californication. This was the album with John Frusciante, their original guitar player, came back.
He came back.
Yeah.
We had originally, when we were setting up this list, we kind of prevaricated about which song we wanted to use or which album that we wanted to use, because we thought like Blood Sugar Sex Magic would have been like which one was bigger, but really Californication really kind of took them kind of a little bit higher than that.
They won a Grammy for Scar Tissue, if that means anything. But it was very successful. I think it was just a better album. It had better songs. It had a lot of more singles. It had a lot Scar Tissue, The Other Side, Californication. There's a cool music video for Californication too, you know, little.
And I think,
anime.
I also think this was kind of like as they were coming out, like this was released near towards the end of the '90s. This was kind of almost outside of the list, but like around '99. But yeah, this was definitely they were at the top of their top of their creative peak with that, and they probably continued on even well into the aughts, you know. But yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mean, we could not have a '90s list and not put them on. So
definitely. All right, number 30, we have Live, Throwing Copper. Their biggest album did really well. Had I Alone, Lightning Crashes, All Over You. All Over You is a great song. I really, really enjoy that one. I have some on my playlist on Spotify. Live is a great band. I've seen them in concert, saw them in '99. They put on a great show. A little quick joke. It's hilarious. They had a big Jumbotron. Saw them in Atlanta behind the band. It was a big festival, Rock Fest. And they had they invite people from the crowd on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and the lead singer. And Live is not this type of band, by the way. He was like singing and dancing with the young woman by him who was wearing like a bikini and like some jean shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting there singing, not really. He's looking straight across the crowd singing, and well, she strips naked, so he didn't realize she was naked, and she's sitting there on the jumbotron naked. And then he like it's just the look on his face when he turned and saw looked at her, and she's like ah.
And
Okay.
they were not a band that was like
No,
like
they
woo,
weren't. No, they weren't that band.
Yeah.
It just was funny. I thought his expression was just great.
There's another thing about Live. They did a video for "I Alone." Guys, if you're sitting there like if you get time, go back, go look it up, look the video up. Apparently, they didn't tell the drummer, or they didn't let the drummer bring his kit. So the drummer's just running around in the background with nothing to do. The other band, the guy, the singer's got his microphone, like the other guys have got their guitars and they're all like miming, but he's got nothing to do. So he's just chilling in the back, just like bouncing around.
How does that happen?
It's hilarious.
How does that happen?
I don't know. There was money spent, and they did
This
that.
This video was played on MTV a lot.
Yes, I know. It was a pretty big single, but yeah, I don't know. It was weird. But as far as Live, really good. They were just a really solid band.
Yeah.
What wasn't anything. I wouldn't probably say they were the greatest, but really solid band. 29 is Hootie and the Blowfish, Cracked Rear View. Hootie the Blowfish. Okay. Darius Rucker is a great singer, just an awesome singer. There's gonna be a lot of people would kind of hate on Hootie the Blowfish because they were kind of corny, or they kind of hit on that kind of mainstream type of view. Mm-hmm. I don't care. They were a solid, good band, and I dare anyone to sit there and listen to that song and say that that's not a good band. Yeah, what was it? Time. Mm-hmm. What was the other
Hold
songs?
My Hand, Let Her Cry, Only I Want to Be With You. For Let Her Cry, they won a Grammy. This album went 21 times platinum in the United States alone. This was a mega album for the 90s. Probably one of the best-selling albums of the 90s, at least rock album in the 90s.
Yeah.
They were extremely mainstream. They just, it's a good band. It's a great band.
Solid band, yeah.
I don't really have nothing negative to say about them at all. They seem like nice guys. I don't know what.
Yeah, they were just a really solid band. And sometimes, like some people they want to get something different or this, or I don't like Coca-Cola. Well, Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola because it's great.
Yeah, it's just. Number 28, we have Van Halen for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Yeah, that was a terrible name for an album.
Yeah, and they're not a band that was I would say that could have the cachet.
Well, this
to really
was Van Hagar. I actually like Sammy Hagar all right. I like Van Hagar all right too. I think Sammy Hagar is a nice guy. This album did all right. It did win a Grammy, actually. It's mainly known for Right Now. That's the song. That was a really great song, in my opinion, and a great music video. Really great music video. It holds up today.
Mm-hmm.
But after that,
yeah,
it didn't really get good critically reviewed, even though it won a Grammy.
It won a Grammy, but yeah, this was probably I wasn't the biggest Van Halen fan.
Well, they're more known for the 80s stuff, you know what I mean? And, with stuff with David Lee Roth and, but I think it's still not too bad.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're moving on to 27, Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears.
This was a good album. It's the first album with Zakk Wylde.
Yeah. It's Ozzy. It's Ozzy Osbourne, so... Yeah,
he's a big Ozzy Osbourne fan. I liked his early solo stuff. I liked his later solo stuff. I loved the Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne. Some of my favorite music really out there altogether. So I'm a huge fan of his. I had a black light poster on my wall when I was 16 of Ozzy.
No, yeah. Like I was kind of I had known about Ozzy Osbourne, and I kind of was like familiar with Black Sabbath, but like being friends with him was actually kind of got me into like really appreciate like Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath.
I love the Black Sabbath stuff.
Yeah.
But before as this goes, this is really good. There's a little bit of change of sound of him for his previous more classic metal sounding albums of the 80s. This is his first real album of the 90s. And it really, was a little bit kind of more a new sound.
It pushed him into that kind of like before he was kind of doing more of the kind of glam metal-y type deal. Yeah. And this one was really kind of pushed him into that kind of alternative metal type deal. But
with Zakk Wylde, it was a little bit heavier too. And,
well, then when we changed guitarists, then he had Zakk Wylde. It really kind of changed his sound a little bit. But yeah, this is pretty much a return to form for Ozzy Osbourne, especially in the 90s. So really great. Can't really say anything more than that. Yeah.
Number 26, Slayer, Seasons in the Abyss.
Okay. Now, before anybody starts pulling out the pitchforks here, yes, Slayer's a really good band. I wasn't the biggest Slayer fan. I mean, I liked them, and I like some of their stuff. I mean, some of this, like, was it the actual song on this album, "See in the Abyss," was a really good song. Like I said, I think people just really love Slayer, and I'd probably say there's some other bands that I'm probably like that on, but that wasn't the band for me. But I'll just let you take the rest of that.
I think Slayer is a band that they're one of the big four metal bands. For
the big four of the thrash. Yeah, that's Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth.
Yeah. Slayer is one of the most true metal bands that ever was. This album was pretty good. Seasons in the Abyss is one of the best metal songs ever. The riffs that Slayer does is something like if you had a list of like the most hardcore, just badass metal songs, Slayer is on the list like probably 5 times. Slayer never, I hate the term sold out because it's saying that like bands can't change their sound or try something different. They never did do that. They just was Slayer all the way through. But to their hardcore fans, that's what they loved about them, I think. I mean, they didn't pull punches. They were who they were, and they are a hardcore badass band. And
they never.
I don't love all their stuff, but this was one that just barely made a list in 1990. I just thought they were an important band to mention, in this stuff because I do kind of like stuff that's not necessarily in the mainstream.
Yeah,
but Slayer's always huge band. I mean, they're just it's a good example of a group that. Though it may not be commercially, I mean, this album did have commercial success. It's just not in the mainstream. If you go to a concert, which they retire now, but huge sellout crowds everywhere you go.
Yeah, like there was a level that Slayer got to, and then once they got to that level, they were perfectly happy to just stay right there. You can respect that too. Yeah, like I said, don't hate Slayer. But I never loved Slayer.
Slayer fans can be annoying.
Yeah.
The only metal band that exists is Slayer. Maybe one old Metallica album. Everything else just sucks because it's not as hard.
Because it's not Slayer.
And Slayer's the hardest band ever, and everybody else sucks. And that's kind of
So I'm not a fan of that gatekeepy type of thing.
Yeah, not me either. But I like the band.
Yeah. 25 is AC/DC, The Razor's Edge. Now, when we were setting this list up, and he told me that this album had Thunderstruck, I was thunderstruck. I did not.
Also, Money Talks.
And Money Talks. I did not know that. So I got some. Now that would make a little more sense to me, but I didn't know that Thunderstruck came off of this album. I was convinced that was like.
Well, it came out in 1990. AC/DC is, of course, one of these bands that's really known for the 70s a little bit, of course, with Bon Scott years, and then in the 80s with Brian Johnson. really,
And that's one of the few times where the replacement singer was kind of better.
a little bit. I mean, the guy died, or they would never replace Bon Scott. That's up to them. But
Yeah.
but Brian Johnson's awesome.
Just he like put a kind of a different kind of
Yeah,
feel
but this
to it.
Thunderstruck's one of their biggest songs. I mean, they normally, I think, open up with that every concert.
And it plays like
And it came out to 1990, which I was surprised for. But it did come out in the 90s, and that's why it's on this list, because that was such a big song. This was a successful album. Money Talks is actually a really great song, too.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy that. It's always been one of my favorite AC/DC songs.
And it's like now it's kind of one of those like standard play songs that they play like during the games, like like during it's like a basketball game, a football game, and they're trying to like pump everybody up. They start doing the little riff on there. So an AC/DC, they're just a standard legendary rock band. You can't go wrong with AC/DC. 24 is Beastie Boys, Ill Communication. Now, Beastie Boys, we would probably consider, they were originally, or, still kind of were more of a hip hop group. They were definitely in that New York hip hop kind of thing.
They started out actually as a hardcore band, but their first album that came out, they had success. The one that everyone knows, with You're Right to Party and No Sleep to Brooklyn. That's kind of a rock song itself.
Yeah.
But, they're more like a hip hop group. But this had Sabotage. And Sabotage is a rock song. And it's
literally why we put this on here. That song is awesome.
And that song was very much, when you say the 90s, and they played the crap out of it on MTV. The Beastie Boys was so ahead of their time. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
like even in the realm of like kind of hip hop, like they were definitely they were in a kind of in a like kind of in a league of their own.
Yeah.
Beastie Boys, always awesome. Yeah, give them a listen.
23, we have Cranberries, No Need to Argue. This was a pretty good album. This was their most successful album. It was 7 times platinum. This is the one with Zombie on it, which was a great song. Also, Ode to My Family. I don't know. Cranberries is a good 90s group. I mean, what I mean? The album before this was really good too, but this was their most successful one, so that's why we put it on the list. And this was the one with Zombie, which I think is their biggest song.
Really great band. The singer, Dolores O'Riordan. Rest in peace. But she is just a very unique sound. Her voice was just very, very like haunting and unique. And I would say that like there are people who you consider like Irish when they sing. She definitely felt of Ireland when she sang.
That's true.
Like awesome band, awesome singer. Yeah, that's why they're at 23. So, all right, we have 22 is Tool, Anima. What do you think about this?
Tool's another one of those bands that have that hardcore following that everybody.
We're kind of one of those groups, I think we're in that group.
Well, I love this album. I listened to crap out of it when I was in high school. Anima, the single, and Stinkfist were great songs. Weird stop action music videos. Boy, they didn't really, they were just
like they did not put out the, hey, we're just gonna put put a bunch of guys dancing in the background. No, they went out on their videos.
They were weird. Very progressive band.
Definitely intricate. That's the one of the bands that I would probably say that like other people like would really not like. People are really hardcore in it, and then some people just don't get it. We're probably closer to that group of like that really into Tool. But then there's some people that like.
I think Tool people sometimes read too much into them and think their music's deeper than what it really is, or maybe I guess it is. I don't know. I just thought they kicked ass. I'm sorry. I mean, this album, this was a hard rock, good mellowish, progressive metal album. And that was, kind of more to it. This is, I think, their best album, by the way. The first album's pretty good, but this one, I think it's better than Lattice. But
I was more of a fan of the Lattice album. But that was more into into the 2000s. So, but yeah, like really great. I've gone back, I remember like him being, that's another band that this guy got me into. Really good, really intricate,
I listened to hell out of this album. I made in the 90s and stuff. All right, number 21 is Pantera, Far Beyond Driven. This album debuted at number 1, which is crazy. In the 90s, a band like Pantera would debut at number 1. They had 5 Minutes Alone, I Am Broken, Planet Craven, which is a Black Sabbath cover. Pantera is another band, I think, if you had to have another band you would compare it to Slayer with, it would be Pantera, where they didn't never sell out. They were always hardcore. They had hardcore fans, ride and die with. Unfortunately, they lost their guitar player and drummer, who were both brothers. Southern band, too, which I kind of think is cool. But they were different, too. Something about them was different. When they came out, they had a groove metal sound.
It was definitely, it wasn't that kind of, wasn't a very like, it wasn't like a kind of a riffy, it wasn't like a hard riff heavy thing. It was more kind of that kind of low end kind of, more of a kind of, like you said, groove metal, definitely doing something different in that whole thing. Yeah, Dimebag Darrell, one of the great, on the Mount Rushmore of guitarists, he's definitely on there. I wasn't the biggest Pantera fan. I think I probably had the album before this.
Oh yeah.
Vulgar Display of Power.
That's with Walk.
Yeah, with Walk. But yes, this.
I just thought this album was better. It debuted at number 1, so that's why I wanted to put it on the list. It had more songs. Walk is their biggest song from the previous album. That's the ultimate, like, coming out to, like, I feel like a wrestler coming out to the ring and play a song to play.
Which I think it was Rob Van Dam.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But no, this was a good album. Pantera is one of those legendary bands. They've gotten back together recently, kind of, I guess. They have, like, Zakk Wylde actually playing guitar with them now. People want to go hear Pantera songs. They don't want to just be dead.
Yeah.
Phil's still around, and they have Zakk Wylde, so why not? And they have the bass player, so might as well. I'm not going to
Panda, they're pretty much at the top of this list. So, yeah.
Another little fun fact is that Eddie Van Halen and Dimebag Darrell were friends. And unfortunately, Dimebag Darrell was killed. And but Eddie Van Halen, the famous little striped guitar,
red, the red guitar
with him. And it was the guitar.
That was the guitar, and he buried it with him.
He buried it with him.
That's pretty awesome.
So that was kind of the thing. So because they were actual friends.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
And please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 3. Okay.